I am Amma Kendi, and I am 30 years old. My brother raised my rent from $900 to $7,800 overnight, then laughed while my family agreed. You should be grateful he even lets you stay. So I said nothing, packed everything quietly, and left him with the $18,600 monthly mortgage payment he'd hidden from everyone and couldn't cover alone. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe, say hello below, and tell us where you're watching from. Your support truly means everything. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know your city in the comments. Let's continue. I found the envelope slipped under my bedroom door on a Tuesday morning. My hands were still wet from washing breakfast dishes when I bent down to pick it up. The paper felt expensive, thick. Inside was a single-typed letter on Kwami's company letterhead, the one he'd been so proud of when he started his consulting firm 3 years ago. Effective immediately, your monthly rent will increase from $900 to $7,800. Payment due by the 1st of next month. No exceptions. I read it 3 times. The words didn't change. My brother, my own blood, had just multiplied my rent to almost 9 times what it was. In our family home, the house where Mama raised us, where Daddy taught us to ride bikes in the driveway, where Kwami himself had lived rent-free until he was 28. I was 30, a special education teacher making $55,000 a year. I'd been living here for 5 years, ever since my divorce from Malik left me with nothing but debt and a rebuilt sense of self-worth. Kwami inherited the house when Daddy passed 2 years ago. He'd insisted I stay. Family takes care of family. You're not paying enough anyway, he joked back then. But we're blood. That's what matters. I believed him. God help me, I believed every word. My daughter Zara's voice called from upstairs. Mama, I can't find my science project. She was 8, brilliant, and deserved better than the panic now squeezing my chest. I folded the letter carefully, precisely, and slid it into my pocket. If you've ever had family weaponize your trust, you know this feeling. Drop a comment below if you've been there. I waited until evening, when Zara was at her best friend Tia's house for a sleepover. Kwami's silver Mercedes sat in the circular driveway like a monument to everything he'd become since Daddy died. I'd helped him move in 6 months after the funeral, when he sold his condo downtown. We'll make this work, he'd promised, gripping my shoulder. You, me, and Zara like old times. Now I stood in his renovated home office, formerly Daddy's study, watching him type on a laptop that cost more than my monthly salary. He didn't look up for a full minute. Kwami, we need to talk about this letter. He finally raised his eyes. The Kwami I grew up with, the one who'd walked me home from school and scared off bullies, wasn't there anymore. This man wore a 3-piece suit at home and had eyes like a balance sheet. What's to discuss? The rent was criminally low. Criminally low? I'm your sister and this is my house. He leaned back, fingers steepled. I've been more than generous. You've had a sweet deal for years. Time to pay market rate. Market rate? Kwami, I can't afford $7,800. That's more than I make after taxes. Then I suggest you find a higher-paying job or a roommate. He smiled. Actually smiled. Consider it motivation. Motivation? My voice cracked. I'm raising Zara alone. I teach special needs kids. You know my situation. I know you're 30 and still dependent on family charity. He returned to his laptop. The rate stands. Adjust accordingly. I should have known better than to seek support from our mother, Mama Thandika. But desperation makes you stupid. I called a family meeting at Mama's senior living apartment where she'd moved after Daddy's death. The cream-colored walls were covered with family photos spanning 4 decades. Mama sat in her recliner, church crown still perched on her silver hair from morning service. Kwami arrived 15 minutes late, bringing his wife Zanil, whose designer handbag probably cost more than my car payment. My younger sister Ao showed up via video call from across the country, her face pixelated on Mama's tablet. I need you all to hear this, I started, my voice steadier than my hands. Kwami raised my rent from $900 to $7,800. Overnight, no warning, no discussion. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds. Baby, Mama said, adjusting her glasses. Kwami owns that house now. It's his right. My stomach dropped. His right. Mama, I can't afford. You should be grateful he even lets you stay, Zanil interrupted, examining her manicured nails. Most landlords would have raised rent years ago. You've been taking advantage of Kwami's generosity. Taking advantage? The words felt like glass in my throat. I'm family. Family doesn't mean free rides, Kwami said, not looking up from his phone. I've carried you long enough. Time to be an adult, sis. Ao's tiny voice came through the speaker. I mean, he has a point. You're living in a house worth probably $2 million. $2.6 million, actually, Kwami corrected, finally glancing up. That smile again. That horrible satisfied smile. I couldn't sleep that night. At 2 a.m., I sat at my kitchen table with Daddy's old files, the ones Kwami never knew I'd kept. Daddy had been meticulous about paperwork, teaching me young that documentation is armor. The mortgage papers told a story Kwami definitely hadn't shared with the family. The house wasn't paid off, not even close. Daddy had refinanced twice in his final years, trying to keep the family business afloat during the recession. The current mortgage, $18,600 monthly. The house was underwater, worth less than what was owed. And there was more. A reverse mortgage. A home equity line of credit. All tangled together like barbed wire. Kwami had inherited a financial nightmare. Suddenly, everything made sense. His insistence I stay despite claiming I wasn't paying enough. The way he'd moved in immediately, abandoning his paid-off condo. The designer lifestyle he was projecting while living in a house drowning in debt. He needed my $900. Probably needed it desperately. But $7,800? That wasn't about covering costs. That was about control, about proving he could extract whatever he wanted because he held the deed. Because family would support him no matter what. I pulled out my phone and started documenting everything. Every paper, every number, every clause, screenshots, photos, timestamps. Then I opened my banking app and looked at my savings. $16,000. Enough for first month, last month, deposit, and moving costs for a modest apartment. I'd been saving for Zara's future. I guess that future needed to start now. My hands shook as I began searching rental listings, but this time the shake wasn't from fear. It was rage. I gave Kwami exactly what he expected, compliance. For 3 weeks, I played the role of defeated little sister perfectly. I asked questions about payment plans, inquired about splitting the rent across multiple payments, even mentioned picking up a weekend job at the grocery store. That's more like it, he said during one conversation, leaning against his granite kitchen counter. Personal accountability. Daddy would be proud. I wanted to throw his imported coffee mug at his head. Instead, I smiled weakly. Just trying to figure it out. You'll manage. You always do. He checked his Rolex, a graduation gift from Daddy. Zanil and I are hosting a dinner party next Saturday. Make sure you and Zara are out by 6. Client impressions matter. Of course, I murmured. Behind my compliant facade, I was orchestrating an exit with military precision. I'd found a 3-bedroom apartment in a decent school district in Macquarie Heights. I toured it during my lunch break and put down a deposit using a cashier's check. The landlord, Madame Abney, was a grandmother who'd smiled at Zara's enthusiasm about the small balcony. Moving in 2 weeks possible? She'd asked. Absolutely, I'd replied. I'd also contacted an attorney. Daddy's old friend Kwami never knew about, Mr. Jide Okafor, who'd practically been at our house every Sunday for cookouts. His voice had gone cold when I explained the situation. Kwami is doing what now? Please don't say anything yet, I begged. I need to handle this my way. Document everything, he'd advised. And when you're ready to move, I'll make sure your rights are protected. Your daddy would want that. At school, I told nobody except my principal, Miss Rodriguez, who needed to know for Zara's records transfer. He's your brother? She'd asked, disbelief coloring her voice. Kwami's dinner party fell on the last Saturday of the month, my final weekend in his house. I'd already packed most of our belongings, boxes stacked in my bedroom closet and under the bed, small items in my car trunk. Anything valuable was already at Madame Abney's apartment. Zara thought we were organizing for a garage sale. That Saturday, I watched from my bedroom window as Kwami transformed the backyard. White tents, catering trucks, a jazz quartet setting up by the pool Daddy had installed when we were kids. Zanil directed traffic in a dress that cost more than I made in a month. Such an imposition having her here. I heard Zanil tell someone on her phone, standing near my window. But Kwami has such a soft heart. She'll be moving soon, though. Finally paying proper rent or finding somewhere she can actually afford. I recorded it, added it to my growing file. At 5:45 p.m., I loaded Zara into my car. She clutched her favorite stuffed elephant, confused about why we were going to miss Tia again. Are we in trouble, Mama? No, baby. were the opposite of trouble. As I drove away, I watched Kwami's guests arriving in the rearview mirror. City councilwomen, local business owners. The kind of people impressed by surface success, the kind who didn't ask questions about mortgages and family exploitation. That night, while Kwami laughed and networked under his borrowed glory, I made my final preparations. Monday was the first of the month, moving day, but more importantly, reckoning day. Have you ever had to walk away from family? Share your story below. You're not alone. I called in sick Monday morning. The first sick day I'd taken in 3 years. Miss Rodriguez didn't ask questions. She simply said, "Do what you need to do." The moving truck arrived at 7 a.m. Kwami had already left for his office downtown, his Mercedes disappearing down the street at 6:30 sharp, like always. Zanil had an early yoga class she never missed. The house stood empty except for me, Zara, and the 3 movers I'd hired from a veteran-owned company. Everything? The lead mover, a man named Devin with kind eyes, asked. Every single thing we own. Nothing of mine stays. It took 4 hours. My bedroom furniture, purchased with my divorce settlement. Zara's bedroom set, saved for and bought piece by piece. Kitchen supplies from my section of the pantry. Photos from walls. Even the curtains I'd hung in our bedrooms. The shower curtain, bath mats, the doormat that said welcome that I'd bought thinking I was building a home here. I left Kwami's spaces untouched. His designer furniture remained pristine. But the warmth my presence had created, the lived-in feeling of actual family, evaporated room by room. By noon, my section of the house looked like a crime scene outline. Empty spaces where furniture had stood for 5 years, lighter patches on walls where frames had hung. The absence screamed louder than any argument I could have made. I walked through one final time, Zara's small hand in mine. Are we coming back, Mama? No, baby. We're going home. Real home. I left my keys on Kwami's kitchen counter. No note, no explanation, no forwarding address. Just silence and one final gift. The mortgage papers spread neatly across his dining room table where he'd find them, where everyone would see them. Kwami called at 2:47 p.m. I was unpacking boxes in our new apartment, Zara helping arrange her books on the shelf Madame Abney had included with the lease. His number flashed on my phone. I let it ring through to voicemail. He called 16 more times over the next 3 hours. The voicemails escalated beautifully. First, hey, where are you? Your car's gone. Call me back. Fifth, this isn't funny anymore. Where's all your stuff? Did someone rob us? 10th, you need to answer your phone right now. We need to talk about this. 16th, you selfish, you can't just leave. You owe me rent. I saved every single one. The text messages told an even better story. I could practically see his panic building. Kwami 3:15 p.m. Where are you? Kwami 3:47 p.m. Mama is calling me asking what happened. What did you tell her? Kwami 4:23 p.m. You left the mortgage papers out. What the hell is your problem? Kwami 5:01 p.m. I need that rent money. We had an agreement. Kwami 5:45 p.m. You're going to destroy my credit, my reputation, everything. That last one made me smile. Finally, the truth emerging. Not concern for family, not disappointment in a sister. Just panic about money and image. At 6:30 p.m., Mama called. Baby, Kwami says you moved out without telling anyone. That's correct. But why? You two need to work this out. Mama, did Kwami tell you the house has an $18,600 monthly mortgage? That he can't afford it without my rent? That he tried to charge me $7,800 because he's drowning financially, but wanted everyone to think he was some generous landlord doing me a favor? Silence. Long, stretching silence. That can't be right. It's all documented. Public records. The family group chat exploded that evening. I'd muted it weeks ago, but I couldn't resist checking the damage. Ao started it. Ao, someone want to explain what's happening? Kwami, your sister abandoned her family over a simple rent increase. She's being childish. Mama, Kwami baby, is it true about the mortgage? Kwami, that's private financial information. She had no right to go through my papers. Ao, wait, what mortgage? I thought Daddy paid off the house. I unmuted long enough to type one message. Me, Daddy refinanced twice before he died trying to save the family business. The house has $18,600 monthly payments. Kwami inherited debt, not assets. He needed my $900 to survive, but tried to gaslight me into thinking I was the problem. Ask him about the home equity line of credit too. And the reverse mortgage. All public record. Then I muted it again and watched the chaos unfold. Aunt Linda, Mama's sister, who I'd forgotten was in the chat. Lord have mercy. Cousin Bayo, this is messy. Kwami, you don't understand business. That rent was nothing for that house. She was taking advantage. Ayo, but you told everyone the house was paid off. You said you were being generous, letting her stay. Kwami, I don't have to explain my finances to any of you. Mama, baby, you told me the house was yours free and clear. Kwami, it is mine. The deed is in my name. Ayo, covered in $18,600 monthly payments you apparently can't afford without bullying your sister. Zanil joined. Zanil, you people don't understand the pressure Kwami is under. He's building something. She was holding him back. Aunt Linda, building something with whose money? His sister's? The chat continued, but I'd seen enough. Let them drown in the truth. By Wednesday, Kwami's carefully constructed image had shattered completely. Mr. Jide Okafor, Daddy's old attorney friend, had followed through on his promise. He'd filed paperwork questioning the estate distribution, pointing out that Kwami had misrepresented the property's financial status to the family during probate. Your father's will specified the house should provide stable housing for his children, Mr. Okafor explained over coffee at a diner near my school. Not become a tool for one child to exploit another. Kwami failed his fiduciary duty as executor. What does that mean? I asked. It means the estate might need to be reopened. Means Kwami might have to answer some uncomfortable questions under oath about his financial management and his treatment of you as an heir with rights to the property. My phone buzzed. A new message from Zanil. You've destroyed him. Are you happy now? I showed Mr. Okafor. He shook his head. Document it. Everything is evidence. The calls from extended family started that afternoon. Cousin Bayo wanted my side of the story. Aunt Linda apologized for not speaking up during the family meeting. Even Ao called, her voice small. I didn't know, she whispered. He made it sound like you were being unreasonable. I'm sorry. You believed him without asking me. I know. She was crying. I know, and I hate myself for it. Can we talk? Really talk? Maybe later. I need space right now. I understand. I'm here when you're ready. But the call that mattered most came Thursday evening. Mama. Her voice sounded tired and old in a way I'd never heard before. Baby, can you come see me? I don't know if I can, Mama. Please. I need to look at you when I say what I need to say. Something in her voice broke through my anger. Tomorrow after school. Thank you, baby. Thank you. Mama's apartment felt smaller than I remembered. She'd been crying. Her eyes were puffy, her usually perfect makeup gone. She led me to her kitchen table, the one Daddy had refinished 30 years ago, and held my hands with fingers that trembled. I failed you, I blurted. No, baby. Listen. I failed you. Her voice shook. When you came to me hurting, scared, asking for help, I chose Kwami. I chose what was easy, what looked right on the surface. Tears streamed down her face. Your daddy would be ashamed of me. My own tears started. Mama, why? Why did you take his side? Because Kwami looked successful, she said, voice breaking. Had the big house, the business, the right words. And you reminded me of my own struggles. Single mother, teaching job, barely making ends meet. I saw myself in you, and instead of protecting you like I should have, I resented you for it. She winced at her own confession. I wanted to believe Kwami had it all figured out. That he was better than the poverty I fought so hard to escape. So you let him abuse me? Yes. She didn't flinch from the word. Yes, I did. And I'll carry that shame until I die. We sat in silence, both crying. Finally, Mama spoke again. I called Kwami yesterday. Told him he needs to make this right or he'll lose more than just money. He'll lose his family. What did he say? He hung up on me. She let out a bitter laugh. My son, who I raised better than this, hung up on his own mother when faced with truth. I'm sorry, Mama. Don't you dare apologize, she said firmly. You've done nothing wrong. Nothing. She squeezed my hands. Can you forgive me? Eventually, I said honestly. I don't know yet. But maybe someday. That's more than I deserve, she whispered. 2 weeks later, Kwami's world finished collapsing. Zanil filed for divorce. Apparently, discovering your husband is drowning in debt while playing big shot changes perspectives. The house went into foreclosure proceedings. His business clients, hearing about the family drama through the surprisingly small network of black professionals in Macquarie Heights, began quietly moving their accounts elsewhere. Integrity matters, I heard through the grapevine. If he'd exploit his own sister. Mr. Okafor kept me updated on the legal proceedings. The estate case is moving forward, he said. Kwami will likely have to sell the house anyway, split any remaining equity properly among heirs. Given the financial state, that might be nothing. But it's the principle. Will he be okay? I asked, surprising myself. That's up to him, Mr. Okafor replied. He has choices. He's always had choices. He chose wrong. I ran into Kwami once at the grocery store, 3 weeks after I'd moved out. He looked diminished somehow, his designer clothes hanging differently. We stood in the produce section, the fluorescent lights harsh and revealing. You destroyed everything, he said quietly. No, I replied. You did that yourself. I just stopped letting you destroy me, too. I'm your brother. You were my landlord who saw an opportunity to exploit someone vulnerable. The brother I knew died with Daddy. That's not fair, he muttered. Fair. I laughed, sharp and bitter. You want to talk about fair? You tried to charge me $7,800 a month while telling everyone I should be grateful. You let Mama and Ao attack me for wanting basic decency. You smiled while doing it. I needed that money. You needed to be honest, I cut in. You needed to ask for help instead of pretending to be something you weren't. You needed to remember we were family before we were transactions. His face crumpled. For a moment, I saw the brother who'd walked me home from school. Then it was gone. I'm sorry, he whispered. I know, I said. But sorry doesn't fix anything. I walked away, leaving him standing alone beside the apples, and I didn't look back. 6 months later, Zara and I have built something real in our small apartment. It's not much, 2 bedrooms, a galley kitchen, a balcony where we grow tomatoes in pots, but it's ours. Every piece of furniture chosen by us. Every bill paid with money I earned. Every decision made without someone holding power over my head. Zara's thriving at her new school. My students nominated me for Teacher of the Year. Madame Abney brings us soup when it's cold and watches Zara when I have evening parent conferences. We've built a family from choice, not just blood. Mama visits every Sunday. We're rebuilding slowly. Honestly, she goes to therapy now, working through the poverty trauma that made her worship Kwami's fake success. We don't pretend it's fixed, but we're trying. Ao and I text sometimes, short conversations, tentative steps. Maybe someday there'll be more. Kwami. I heard he moved across the country and started over. Zanil took him to the cleaners in divorce court. Turns out lying about finances doesn't play well legally. I hope he learns something. I really do. Not for me, but for whoever comes next in his life. Last week, I received a letter. My forwarding address must have finally caught up. Kwami's handwriting, careful and small. I see it now. What I did. Who I became. I'm sorry isn't enough, but it's all I have. You deserved better. Zara deserved better. Daddy deserved better. I hope someday you can forgive me, but I understand if you can't. You taught me what real strength looks like. Thank you for that. I folded it carefully and put it in a box with other documents from that time. Maybe someday I'll respond. Maybe I won't. The thing about healing is you get to choose your timeline. Tonight, Zara and I are making spaghetti, her favorite. Tomorrow I have parent-teacher conferences. Next month, we're taking our first real vacation, just the 2 of us, to somewhere we've never been. The house with the $18,600 mortgage sold at auction. I didn't attend. That part of my life is over. This is just beginning, and it's beautiful. If this story resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. You're not alone. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's survival. And sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do.